Charlie, chill. Everything's okay. I need you to go get mom. Go get your mom. Go get your mom. No, go get your mom. Go get your mom. Go get your, Charlie, get your mom. Go get your mom. Your mom, not me. No. I'm your dad. Go get your mom. Frank, don't bite Charlie. You guys, I'm trying to start the show. Get your mom. Go get your mom, please. All right, fine. Just come on down. Let's go. Come on. I had a song for the intro part, but the app I used deleted it. So now I get to sing for the intro. Welcome to the show. I had dogs that didn't want to cooperate with me, but that's okay because I got work to do anyway. But that's okay because I got work to do. I'm still upset about the whole theme song being removed from the app. I use this app called Splice to make my clapped out videos, and they took the song Spanish Pride off of the app, so I can't use that for my intro, and it's very upsetting. It's been a big change, it's been a big adjustment. One of the things about these cars, and when people LS swap them, well, any car really, is you get a ton of different opinions on what is needed to do it properly. What engine mounts, what trans mount, what wiring, what this, what that, and the other. And it turns into kind of a cesspool of BS instead of like a straightforward, this is the most direct way to do it. And that's what I had searched for, and I couldn't find direct answers. People talked about fitment issues with certain exhaust manifolds and certain transmissions and blah, 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 blah. So I said, screw it. I'm going to just order the bare minimum parts to start, and I'm going to go from there. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do yourself if you'd like. So the first thing, obviously, is you've got to rip the engine out. If you do not know how to remove an engine from a car, do not attempt to LS swap a car because you'll end up with a roller that you sell for a loss down the road. If you're not qualified, then and I'm not qualified, so I should probably take my own advice, but don't start something like this if you don't know basic mechanics. So engine and transmission has to go. You can see what we're left with. There's nothing extra that's been removed. This is the harness that lays over the stock engine. I just pulled it over to the side. I had to cut a couple wires because I wasn't going to use those certain things, but nothing that is super important. Windshield wiper motor still there. You have all your AC junk over here. Your heater core hoses are run back there. All that stuff is just laid over. The only other thing I removed is there's a charcoal canister that sits right here that I pulled out, and that's it. So this is what you start with. Once you get your engine out, then press play on the video on how to put an LS in your box. One thing I will not touch on is header fitment because I'm going turbo, so you'll have to do your own research on what headers are going to fit this thing. My apologies there, but if you can put an engine in a car, you can figure out what headers to bolt up to it. However, one of the questions that gets asked a ton is what oil pan fits in this chassis. So this is a 2008 Hummer H3 5.3 liter oil pan. Part number 12614-822. It's a GM part. So you have a couple options here. You can run this oil pan. That oil pan up there, you can barely see it. That oil pan is from an F-body. There is a ridge right here that will sit on the cross member. Don't pay attention to anything I just said. Just pay attention to this part number. The H3 part number will work. 12614-822. And I'll put that in text at the bottom of the screen so you can look at it and save it. Now, the other thing to worry about is engine mounts. There's a bunch of options. There's a couple of companies out there that make full B-body swap kits. I looked at a couple threads from people on actual forums, not on Facebook, where they have trouble with aspects of the kit. For what they pay, those aspects should not be involved. They should just be a direct fit. And the trouble that people had, I just didn't feel comfortable spending that kind of money. ICT Billet comes in this case. So ICT Billet makes a small block Chevy style engine mount. This is D for driver's side. The other side says P, obviously. All you need is a set of those ICT Billet brackets, which I have the sheet right here, part number 551928, okay? It has instructions. Comes with bolts to bolt to the engine. It comes with these bolts as well, which I'll touch on in just a second. But they bolt straight up with their hardware supplied. They go right in the 4 locations on each side and you're done. These fit directly into these, your factory clamshell style motor mounts. Okay, so they're 3-bolt units. You got to go from the back side to get them off, and I'll show you why I'm going to replace them right now. I was going to do it later, but I might as well show you now. See how rotted out and gross those are? So at bare minimum, replace those. I mean, come on, it's easy. And they're cheap. These are replacement clamshell mounts. You get them on Rock Auto, they're cheap, they're not expensive at all. I want to say 10 to 15 bucks a piece. It is worth the peace of mind. You'd say, hey Logan, you're going to put a turbo combo in this thing, shouldn't you get nicer mounts? I mean, Rye's going to be in the car, so, you know, we'll die like real men. One more thing on the oil pan that I did not touch on, though, is windage tray and pickup tube. So you can buy the windage tray and pickup tube specific for this. However, depending on what you do for pickup tube, like I used an F-body windage tray and pickup tube. I'm sorry, I used the pickup tube for this oil pan, and I had to modify the F-body windage tray to fit it. Let me start that over so you guys understand. F-body windage tray will need modification to fit the appropriate pickup tube for this pan. So if you get a 08 Hummer H3 oil pan, get the pickup tube and the pickup tube O-ring respective to that pan. If you order this from Rock Auto, you will also get the oil pan gasket with the oil pan, so you do not have to buy a separate gasket. That's a little trick of the trade. Now that you have the basics on oil pan and mounts, which plague a bunch of people, you're gonna want to replace these mounts. Now, I don't have standard tools because everything I own is like import junk. 15 millimeter and a 15 millimeter through that little sight hole to get to the back of those studs. The lower I have to do still, but either way, back those nuts out, drop the new engine mounts in, and you should be good. I'm gonna make it seem like this is super easy, but I'm sure all these bolts are gonna fight me because it's a 1978 Chevrolet. This is why I say replace those mounts, even these Rock Auto joints versus factory. I mean, these are original 1978 mounts. They're dry rotted. I can't do it with one hand, but these things are just completely gone. I was gonna twist them back and forth so you can see, but I think that tells you enough. So, fresh mounts going in, these mounts coming out, and then we can go ahead and set the engine into the engine bay for a final time. One funny thing about me putting the engine in this thing is I can't get it from the front. My garage is not wide enough, long enough rather. So I've been going from the side. And even if the garage was long enough, you got to dismantle the whole front end of the car if you're using a Harbor Freight engine hoist because they're not long enough. Some people will put like an extender piece in there, which would be much easier. But at the same time, I've just been coming in over the fender and clearing it and dropping it in. So we're going to try this the last time. Get this sucker in there. Again, ICT billet mounts, factory small block Chevy mounts, new rear main seal, new rear main cover. All this stuff Brian Seeley Racing has provided in their kindness and generosity. Turbo Stage 2 cam. We got BTR head gaskets. We got BTR shaft rocker kit. We got BTR everything in this engine. It looks like a pile of junk on the outside, but on the inside, it's got a heart of gold.
Approximately 10 hours later.
All right. Look at that fitment. One thing to highlight too, you can't really see, but I have a bell housing that's just loosely, you can see it's not even snugged all the way up, but I have a bell housing for a TH400 that's bolted up to it loosely just to get an idea of trans fitment. But that is with the Rock Auto mounts, the ICT billet adapters. It took a while to get the engine in actually. I had to walk away from the project and come back to it days and days later. The driver's side manifold wouldn't allow the engine to set in because it was just beating the heck out of that, the steering arm. So once that's resolved, engine's in there. I have to, what I did on the motor mounts here is I modified them so I could basically raise the engine up in the engine bay because I thought that was my problem. That wasn't my problem. My problem was this primary was smashing against that steering arm. The way it was angled, I couldn't see that that's what was doing it, and I was by myself out here. So at any rate, I'm gonna put the motor mounts back to where they were. There should be plenty of clearance. You can see down there my turbo drain, so I have room for the turbo drain. I also got this spicy unit in the mail from Rye. Force Performance, old Robert with the turbocharger. This sucker is ready to rock and roll. My favorite thing when Rye sends me parts is the shipping material that's just shoved in there, and he doesn't care about anything because he's a terrible person, but you know, it's just who he is. But this will be powering that very, very soon. And again, just so you can kind of get the idea of fitment, top side view, that manifold has plenty of clearance. It's got plenty of room. Again, this manifold, I will just have to modify, and by modify I mean beat the F and S out of it with a hammer. BTR equalizer with plenty of hood clearance. Not that it was really a concern, but just thought I'd note that. As far as accessories go, that's the other thing. You have to decide what accessories you're gonna run. And a lot of guys that run long tube, ladies or men that run long tube headers, obviously they go that way. They don't come forward like a turbo setup. So you're going to have different clearance options depending on what exhaust you're running. This specific setup, I know F-body accessories clear, but limited. So the power steering pump location won't work. So I'm going to holler at ICT Billet and see if they have something that might work or rectify that for me. I would really like to keep power steering in this thing, and that's going to be a bugaboo if I can't. But that is the fitment of that engine sitting with literally Rock Auto mounts and the ICT billet adapters and nothing else. So there's people that say it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. Here it is in the flesh. It does fit. It will work. I'm not sure what other people are doing to make it not work, but it does work. Just make sure you don't have a manifold hooked up to one side of the engine. Otherwise, you're going to have a very rough day like I did. Another thing, and like the next step of the process, you like my cup holders? Those are good, right? Another step of the process is going to be electronics, which I was concerned on what I was going to keep in the car because the car does have, I would love to keep the old school, like everything analog-y vibe in here. But with Haltech on board, it's going to be really hard for me to justify keeping, this stuff in place of what they have available now with the Nexus software that they have on the Elites, as well as the Nexus ECUs and the CAN Hub button pad integration with the Elites as well. Off camera, I just did this. I said button pad like I was pressing an imaginary button pad. So that's where I'm at mentally today. And if you're wondering on button pad, like, what do you mean, Logan? So that's the button pad in the RX-7. I don't have much that controls in the car because I have this separate button panel up there. I'd like to consolidate it all to CAN Hub based, which will be the move for probably next season or I don't know, whenever. But that's what I'm going to run in that car because you can take with Haltech Elite ECUs. The Elite ECU is the step below the Nexus, and it's still an amazing ECU. The Nexus is like an entire vehicle control system. The Elite didn't have support for CAN Hub, CAN button, like the CAN pads, the keypads. They just added support, so now I can run a CAN keypad with my Elite ECU, which makes the wiring job on this so much easier. It's just a single CAN plug in the back, and you're done, which is awesome. Other than the Haltech stuff and the engine stuff, I got half a transmission pulled apart. I got exhaust parts. I have a turbocharger. I got an RX-7 that tried to kill me the other day. I got a lot going on. I know this is a short video, but I wanted to get something up this week. I appreciate everybody for watching. Like and subscribe. Go to our website. Buy a t-shirt. If you don't buy a t-shirt, you don't love me. Or don't buy a t-shirt. It's your money. You spend it wisely. Don't blame me for your financial crisis. This is Clapped Out. And thank you for watching. If you don't go to our website and buy a shirt, that means you don't love us, and that really hurts. La la